She doesn't speak their language. Not the science, not the references, not the rigid structure that defines how their world works. She's a disruption, a big bang, if you will. And it's easy to reduce that to something simple. Penny is the outsider, the contrast, but at the same time, she is often simplified as the normal one. So which is it? Is she normal, or is she different? It turns out this binary one or the other reading of Penny misses something deeper. So today, following the outcome of a recent poll I posted on my channel, we're going to explore the depths of the character of Penny. Penny isn't just different from the others, she's the only character who exists without a particular system to protect herself. Everyone else has something. Leonard has intellect, Howard has performance, Raj has avoidance, Sheldon has a rigid logic to follow. They all build identities that act like shields, structures that explain who they are and how the world works. Penny doesn't have that, at least not in the same way. She doesn't have a framework to hide inside, she just has herself, and that's a much more vulnerable place to exist. Penny moves through the world without those defenses. She doesn't control her environment in the way Sheldon does, and she doesn't rely on validation the way Leonard does. She adapts, constantly. And though she may appear confident, socially dominant, comfortable, effortless even, this confidence is often performative, and perhaps this is Penny's version of a defense mechanism. Penny is a strong woman, and so it's easy to ignore, but strength is not equal to invincibility. Her defense mechanism doesn't look like withdrawal, it looks like humor, which fits neatly and inconspicuously into a 23-minute comedy show. Self-deprecating jokes about her intelligence, casual remarks about her failed acting career, a tendency to dismiss her own achievements before anyone else can. These aren't just comedic moments, they're preemptive protection. Penny's identity is never fixed, and that's what makes her different. She arrives in California with a dream, but no structure. Acting is uncertain, unpredictable, and ultimately unstable. When it doesn't work out, there's no clear alternative waiting for her, no defined path, no obvious next step. So she experiments, waitressing, some auditions, parts in minor productions, relationships, and eventually pharmaceutical sales. None of it follows a clean trajectory. There's no moment where everything suddenly makes sense, just gradual adjustment, trial and error. Even details about her life remain incomplete. We never learn her surname. It's a small detail, almost a running joke, but it reinforces something important. Penny is never fully defined, not by the show, not by the people around her, not even by herself. She comes from a background that contrasts sharply with the world she enters, a rural upbringing, a brother in prison, a sister she is fond of but one we never meet, a father who values stability, who expects her to settle down with someone secure, someone predictable. Incidentally, Penny resists that pressure, not loudly or dramatically, but consistently, because choosing stability under pressure would mean losing something essential. Her independence, her sense that her life is her own. This resistance shows integrity, even when her life looks uncertain. Even when she doesn't have a clear direction, she refuses to become something just because it's expected of her. She wants relationships and life events to unfold in the right way, and I think that's something we can all respect. The most revealing dynamic in the show isn't a romantic one, it's the one shared by Penny and Sheldon, because they represent two completely different responses to the same problem. A world that is unpredictable, messy, and often uncontrollable. Sheldon copes by trying to eliminate that unpredictability. He builds systems, routines, and rules that reduce chaos into something manageable. Penny does the opposite. She assumes chaos is inevitable. Instead of controlling it, she adapts to it. This creates friction. Sheldon's rigidity clashes with Penny's flexibility, but it also creates a strange balance. Where Sheldon struggles to function without control, Penny absorbs uncertainty without collapsing under it. Where Penny lacks structure, Sheldon imposes it. They don't change each other completely, but they expand each other's limits. Sheldon learns slowly that not everything can be controlled. Penny learns that some structures can provide stability. In this way, Sheldon and Penny's relationship might be one of the most important in the show, and it's certainly my favourite. In Season 8, Episode 16, they take a relationship test together that reveals their secret desires. Sheldon wishes he had Penny's empathy, while Penny wishes she could be as smart as Sheldon. It's a rare moment of mutual vulnerability and respect, showing that their differences aren't just a source of tension, they're also a source of growth. Later, in Season 9, Episode 17, we see the trust and emotional bond they've built when Sheldon panics over a birthday party. Penny is the only person he allows to comfort him. It's a striking reversal. The person who navigates chaos with humour and adaptability becomes the anchor for the person who relies on control. In these moments, we see that their relationship isn't just about friction, it's about how two contrasting approaches to life can complement each other in deeply human ways. Speaking of relationships, the one shared by Penny and Leonard, the core storyline of the show, is built on a quiet tension. Leonard wants reassurance, clarity, commitment. He wants things to move forward in a defined way, and if possible, quickly. Penny wants connection, but without losing control of herself in the process. She has had many disappointing and deceptive relationships in the past, something we become aware of as early as the first episode.
Until I fell in love with a jerk.
So she leans back, not because she doesn't care, but because closeness introduces risk. The risk of being fully seen, of being known without the humour, without the deflection, without the performance. And that fear surfaces clearly in moments where Leonard tries to define the pace of the relationship. One of the most revealing instances of this is in Season 3, Episode 19, where she feels emotionally pressured to say the L word.
Leonard, stop pressuring me.
That line isn't just about timing, it's about control, it's about autonomy. For Penny, vulnerability can't be forced. It has to come from a place where she still feels like herself, where she isn't meeting someone else's expectations or following someone else's timeline. Her instinct is to protect that space. She keeps things light, she avoids sitting in emotional intensity for too long. Not because she lacks depth, but because depth for her feels dangerous. If she lets someone see everything, she risks confirming her own insecurity, that she isn't enough. And none of this is to say she lacks the ability to interpret these emotions. On the contrary, Penny is without a doubt the most emotionally intelligent person in the show, which brings us to this. The characters of The Big Bang Theory place a heavy emphasis on one kind of intelligence, academic, measurable by grades, qualifications, theses and papers, all intrinsically tied to knowledge and achievement. By those standards, Penny is positioned as the least intelligent person in the group. But that framing misses something fundamental. Penny understands people, emotion, and street smarts. She reads tone and intention instinctively. She navigates social situations with ease. She recognizes emotional consequences before they unfold. The other characters need rules to understand behavior, rules that Sheldon rarely understands, especially earlier in the series. Although the other characters understand these rules, Penny navigates them with relative ease. She doesn't calculate, she feels, and that emotional intelligence allows her to do something the others can't. A subscriber of mine recently mentioned that Penny is the audience, and I agree with this. She reacts to the group in ways that feel relatable, but I'd like to develop this point further. As I said in my first video, Leonard is the midpoint, the comedic foil, the translator between worlds. He is also the character we empathize with emotionally, the one who struggles and hopes. Penny doesn't make us feel for her in quite the same way. Instead, she shows us how to navigate this world of extremes without losing yourself. She's adaptive, intuitive, and unafraid of the messiness that the others try to control. Another way of looking at it is that Leonard translates the group's world into something we can understand emotionally. Penny is the source of this emotion. She gives it meaning. Penny is easy to underestimate. She exists in a world that values certainty, intelligence, and structure, and she represents something else entirely. Uncertainty, adaptability, emotional resilience. She builds a life without a clear blueprint. She moves forward without guarantees. She refuses to define herself through someone else's expectations, even when that would be easier. And in a show full of characters who survive by explaining the world, Penny survives by learning how to live in it, without a script. And it is this scriptlessness that gives Penny her true intelligence in her own right. And one of the clearest examples of this comes in Season 11, Episode 13, the solar oscillation. Sheldon decides he wants to work on an important scientific problem on his own. He kicks Leonard out of the apartment, expecting solitude, focus, control. But what he doesn't anticipate is a bored, restless Penny in the same apartment. She orders a pizza, lounges on the couch, and casually starts thinking out loud about the cheese stuffed into the crust. As Sheldon waxes poetic about dark matter and string theory, Penny muses in her own simple yet intuitive way. In talking about strings getting knotted, Penny inadvertently grasps the essence of string theory, and even Sheldon, a man who lives in precision and equations, is struck by how accurate her intuition is. From that point, a conversation sparks between them, one that helps Sheldon make a breakthrough in his own work. Despite my preference for the earlier seasons, this episode is one of my favourites. The more I think about it, the more profound this episode becomes. It shows that Penny's intelligence doesn't have to be formal or academic to be extraordinary. She doesn't need a PhD to understand the world in her own way. She doesn't need to rigidly follow rules or structure to make an impact on the world. It's not an impact based on similarity, but rather on complementarity. Penny doesn't compete with the others or try to imitate them. She navigates life differently, and in so doing, she expands the possibilities of those around her. And in a way, that's Penny distilled. Her strength lies in her adaptability, her courage to exist in uncertainty, and her capacity to influence the world without following a script. Even when everyone else is focused on control, achievement, or explanation, Penny is living, observing, and moving forward in a way that's both intuitive and transformative. In this sense, Penny is the solo oscillation moving alone, but as a predictable and important wave through this world of genius. Thank you for watching, guys. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. This was my third video on The Big Bang Theory, and in the future I plan to create video essays on all kinds of films and shows, other characters and concepts from TV and film, but also psychological and philosophical reflections on life as a whole. If you're interested in this kind of thing, subscribe, and let me know in the comments, who would you like a deep dive on next?